I think the lesson that I've learned in observing Trump at work is it's a mistake to let yourself be governed either by your fears or your hopes. You just have to look at the facts as they emerge. The basic fact of a meeting is not a good, that's not a good look. It's not a good look that Zelensky and the Europeans are not part of it. It's not good that we've invited him to the United States. That's a gesture of respect, which he doesn't deserve. It's also, I think, it's a very bad sign that this seems to be coming on the heels of a major diplomatic screw up by Steve Witkoff, the president's special envoy, who's given several different versions of what the Russians have put on the table. And I think his initial version was that they were willing to cede some territory and back to Ukraine that they've already taken, and that doesn't actually seem to be what's going on. And it's indicative of the kind of amateurishness of how the White House has conducted diplomacy. It's interesting to me that the Europeans have got their act together, are having a meeting, a virtual meeting with Trump, and seem to be aligned with the Ukrainians, so that's good. And for the rest, I'm afraid we're just going to have to wait and see. I there are a lot of people who insist that Trump really wants Russia to win. I don't think that's entirely the case because otherwise he'd be doing things differently than one might like. I don't think he has a particular feeling for the cause of Ukraine, but nor do I think that he's simply hostile to Kyiv. It's something more complicated. I think what he really wants is a big deal that he gets the Nobel Peace Prize for. One of the things about Trump is he actually does not like war. I mean, he likes a certain degree of bellicosity. He likes the trappings of military power, but he doesn't particularly like war, and he does seem to have been affected to some extent by the degree of destruction that he sees, I'm sure, every day in Ukraine from these wanton Russian attacks on Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. I think he genuinely doesn't like that. But I think the main thing is he sees himself as the master deal maker and as somebody who's bringing peace all over the place. Where I think he has a lot of difficulty is in fully grasping that other people have agency. That Putin has his own objectives, and honestly, they have nothing to do with a long-term settlement with Ukraine or anybody else. The Ukrainians have agency. They know what's awaiting them if the Russians ever get the upper hand. The Europeans have agency. They are much, much more alive to the immediate Russian threat. And so the result is he cannot simply impose his will by fiat, which I think is what he most desires to do.